It's as loud as it gets, by the way.
What is it?
No, well, not really, but without going way over there.
I was going to say, is it plugged in?
It is plugged in, but it's the volume is very low.
Here's a little ditty.
It sounded kind of country, didn't it?
Architecture in the city.
It sounded a little country. Bare strings, man. Just bare strings.
I was going to say, was it?
Oh, you're recording. How did you start the recording? Jesus.
Because I thought that
only I had that power.
No. And I figured I'd sneak in and start recording.
You get to hear my out of tune guitar. Yeah.
Sometimes we're always out of tune.
Oh my gosh. Most of the time.
Isn't that the kind of like the goal of teamwork, is to try to get a little bit in tune? Just a little.
Hey, Cormac, everything is vibration. Everything.
What actually is funny is I'm catching up on an Apple TV show called Invasion. Have you seen that one?
I have not.
It just started its third season, and I didn't watch the second season. And funny you say that, because they stumbled on the vibrations and the frequencies of some vibrations of the aliens that invaded Earth, and are now figuring out how to figure out what's up with the aliens. So there you go.
They are really here, by the way, and they're vibrating at another level. So they're just in a dimension that you can't perceive. That's how it works.
Are they orange?
They might be. I mean, orange is a good color. I wouldn't be surprised. What's the vibration of orange?
Do you have that tuned on your guitar?
No, my guitar is probably not tuned to orange, but yeah, it's interesting, right? Like I just saw this video, Skunk Baxter, like famous guitar player from Steely Dan, and
yeah.
He was talking about, like a musical note. Like, why does music connect to the soul? Like, so you might be interested in this, right? Because obviously music's important, and it has all to do with vibration. Like, okay, so we're bringing this full circle in the first 3 minutes. But he's like, you hit this open A string, whatever, and it vibrates at A, which is at 440, tuned at 440 hertz. He's like, but if you hit this harmonic, it's at double that, and if you hit this harmonic, it's quadruple that. And so this is all just on a guitar neck. But he's like, but if you keep turning that up, he goes, then it turns into heat. And if you keep turning that up, like it turns into a color. And it's interesting, right? Because it's like that's why music can touch your soul, is because like that's what's going on inside of you too. I just like, and what's interesting is he's a guitar player. He worked at Lawrence Livermore Labs developing with a guy who won the Nobel Peace Prize for the Nobel Prize, not the Peace Prize, the Nobel Prize for the laser, like of all things, right? So interesting.
Laser.
The freaking laser. Yeah.
That's kind of interesting. And let's go even fuller.
Let's follow this thread. Yeah.
I mean, since we've started pulling on it, let's ask you. So my sister's in town, and it's been a long time since she's been in the Detroit metro area. And so I was driving her around to kind of see what's been happening and all of the different construction that's going on, both new and then the renovations and everything else. And I had this conversation about a new building that's going up, and I particularly like it. And she was like, why is that so ugly? And it's interesting because it doesn't
resonate with her.
It doesn't. And it's interesting because, like, obviously I had my music turned down really low because I was listening to some old DC punk stuff, and I turned it down low because she didn't really want to listen to it. And of course it's because it wouldn't have resonated with her versus the music that she does. And so it's kind of interesting to have this conversation about like I don't know if it's what frequency is taste or what it is that makes some people like one thing versus another. Whether it's like, do you like Steely Dan, or do you like whatever, or do you like the shop building that I particularly like in downtown Detroit, and why does she not? Those kind of things. So it's kind of interesting because I see with students now, we don't dictate styles of what they would design in. I know that we've been in studios where the preferred delivery of the architectural style of your project or whatever is something modern or whatever. And in other classes, it's something very classical or traditional or rooted in history and stuff. But does that style seem to kind of like resonate with certain people? It's like, I prefer to do this, or I prefer to do this. And I think both you and I, we have this interesting appreciation for kind of like all sorts of different styles, much like all sorts of different music, where like today I was like, okay, well, if you don't want to listen to my 80s hardcore punk from the DC scene, how about we listen to some Rachmaninoff? And I go from one extreme to another. And she's like, do you really listen to this too? And I'm like, yeah.
It's nice that you're getting to know each other. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's just like, what? And this is probably something that we really can't answer and probably just don't even need to talk about. But it's just like, what is this kind of like driving force or whatever behind people's taste? Like what makes somebody like something more than something else? I think we've always been trying to figure that out, especially as architects. We've always been trying to figure this out. It's like, hey, client, here's what we think you would like. And they're like, oh, no, that's not even remotely me.
That's why we started asking them what they like before we start showing them what we think they might like. We ended the last episode with a pregnant pause. Let's do another one.
Sure.
There we go. All right. The answer is yes. It is like resonance is the word, and your vibration, I think, changes over time. It might even change day to day. So something you like today may not be something you liked before. It may be something you're not going to like tomorrow. And I think what's interesting about that is, like Rick Rubin talks about this. We've talked about him before on the podcast his book is called The Creative Act, I believe. And we've talked about his podcast, Tetragrammatron, and he has some newsletters and things like that. But the thing that he talks about this is like every human being is an antenna, and this is how he attributes his success, right? Which is that he's just open to receiving inspiration. And the human is an antenna, which is tuned in or not. Many people are not tuned in they're not open, right. They're closed down. And so you're going to tune into certain frequencies and you are going to tune out others. And I think creative people especially are more tuned in to certain frequencies. It's like when you talk to somebody who wrote a particularly interesting piece of music, many times they will say, I don't know where it came from. It didn't come from me.
Yeah, absolutely.
That totally goes, this basically to me is reassuring about what Rick Rubin is saying about being an antenna. It's like, I received this. And I think that's super interesting because that frequency can change, tastes can change, but ideas that you're open to in the moment could also, there's so many things I think that could affect that.
I don't know if you had a chance to listen to the interview that Rick Beato just recently did with Dave Gilmour.
No, I haven't.
And that was very much the same thing. Here, obviously, Rick is sitting there somewhat fanboying with Dave Gilmour.
As one does.
As one should. Mm. And he's asking about, he's like, you play very uniquely. And Dave was like, well, I think we all play very uniquely. I mean, there's no one person. He goes, even if we're playing the same music, there is no one piece of music that's the same because of the person who's playing it.
Yeah, your sense of timing is going to be different. The way you, like if it's a guitar even, you're going to strike the strings differently. It's going to be going through a different chain of effects. You're going to be holding the string, fingering the strings different. Like the tension that you hold even changes. There's so many variables. It's the same with architecture, right? It's like in studio when you give one assignment and you get 16 different outcomes.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because, I mean, if you think about it, so Dave was talking about, Rick asked him, he's like, well, where did this chord come from? Because we think that this chord...
There's like that famous chord
that famous
the sound
chord
of Pink Floyd.
Just like that, that changed the course of rock guitar. And he's just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know where it came from. It just, we were sitting around a room and we were playing and I played it and it was just like, I think that's something there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like the nuggets of how we do it in architecture. It's just like a lot of times I know because in talking with you that there's a lot that is just intuitive. It's like, well, why did you do that? You're like, it just felt
I
right.
don't have a justification, like a metric to show you
Yeah,
to justify it in the way that you're looking for, right? I think, and
exactly.
that's art, though.
Exactly.
That's the
Yeah,
definition of art, right? It is
right,
going to repel some, and it is going to attract
right.
others.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's just like, oh, oh.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, actually, what was interesting is because driving around again today with my sister, there's a greenway in the middle of, divided median, and it's wide enough where they've got just this trail of art. And there's some art that struck her, of these kind of like statues and stuff that are down the roadside, and there's some that didn't. And she basically just said, as you know, art's in the eye of the beholder.
Mm-hmm.
Like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the trying to please everyone also is just a lost cause. To me,
Yeah.
that this is really speaking
Yeah.
to that. Like obviously there's pop music that a majority of people resonate with, right? To go back to our theme, not everybody, but for many people, popular music is nails on a chalkboard because there is not a lot of quote unquote art to it, right? Yeah, you're raising your hand. So
I am.
anyway, to say there is stuff that does resonate with a lot, but not everyone. And so by trying to make something or please everyone, there's no way that in the metric of everyone that means 100%, right? It's not going to happen. And so not everyone has to like your stuff. And I think that's one of the things that is so interesting about progress is
Right.
progress. I think a lot of people think it just means like it's more for the masses. And I think what's interesting is that the art that really moves me is the weird stuff that I resonate with. And the weird stuff by definition, I think then means that it's for a smaller number of people or a small number of people.
So funny, the reason why I was kind of like chuckling when you were talking is, so I had playing in my head the opening noise, sound, music, whatever you want to call it, for Depeche Mode's People Are People.
Mm-hmm.
And then you said for the masses, and then I immediately went to music for the masses.
Wow.
And it's just like,
Cormac's off in La
Yeah.
La Land. What?
I'm totally 100% off in La La Land. I was just like, I mean, he's right, because there's like so many different little things that, like, yeah. I mean, the reason I was thinking about like the opening to People Are People is that just it sort of sounds like melodic pans falling down the stairs,
Yeah.
right? And people are like, "Do you really listen to this?" They're like, "Just give it, and see?" And they're just like, "Yeah, whatever." It is sort of like architects.
Right.
You know,
Give it
kind
some
of thing.
time. Give it some time. Maybe
It's like, wait,
maybe it'll.
wait,
Yeah.
it's coming. Keep walking. Whoa, there. See, there you go.
Well, what's
You know, kind of
interesting
thing.
about that is the cliche of don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but I'm the kind of person who's like, it's got to have a good cover for me to even look at it. I'm not. It's like there's so many books. It has nothing to do with judging the quality of the book
Yeah,
at all. It's just like there's got to be something attractive enough for me to crack it open. But you could say that, I think, also about music or many things, architecture. Yeah.
All right. So, speaking of covers, you saw most recently a whole bunch of different covers, and I wanted to talk about your trip.
I saw a
that
bunch
you
of
went
covers.
away to.
Is that another word for
You-
something?
Well, no, I mean you were talking about don't judge a book by its covers. Well, you had a lot. You had your own kind of like architectural trip to the Midwest, to
I
the Corn
did.
Belt,
Let me
and
let me refresh my memory here. I'm gonna pull up my photographs here because I haven't
Yeah.
even looked into like what these buildings that I visited were even called. I know who designed them, but I don't know what they were called. So give me play that Jeopardy theme music real quick. I went to Cedar Rapids, Iowa recently for an architectural
why?
firm's annual staff retreat, which sounded very cool. I was invited to be a keynote speaker and sit on a panel discussion for this firm. And it's a firm of about 150 people. It's called OPN Architects. And I got to meet some of the people online who are partners in that firm and technology leaders. And basically, we made it happen. So I got to go visit there. It was a very early day for me to get every flight that leaves my local airport, which is very, very small, seems to leave at 5 or 6 in the morning. So I get to get up at 3:30 in the morning Pacific time and go to the airport so that I can get on my flight, go through Denver, landed in Cedar Rapids, got picked up by the technology leader, Hugh, of this firm, and he was an amazing architectural tour guide all of a sudden. He's like, hey, I thought we can go look at some architecture.
Oh, cool.
So obviously we didn't have anything else planned for that day. So it's like, yeah, let's do something. And so he was the Cormac Phelan of the East Coast for me. Whenever I fly out to visit you, it's like, let's go visit some architecture. So that's what we do. That's what Hugh did for me. And then so we drove south, I believe, to Iowa City. And Iowa City there's a large state college there. And we got to visit. This college does not have an architecture program, But
that college.
But they invest in architecture.
Has a whole lot of architecture.
They have a whole lot of architecture. So I shared some of the photos with you over text. I guess what we could do is we could put them in a little gallery slideshow in the show notes for this episode. So for those of you who are listening and want to see what I saw, you can go to the show notes for this episode. I don't know the number of this episode yet, but you'll find it at archispeakpodcast.com. And the first building we looked at was actually, there was two buildings kind of across the street from each other, and they were both by a small firm called Stephen Hole Architects. Have you heard of them?
I don't believe I have.
Yeah. Interesting stuff.
Must be a small up-and-comer.
Yeah, you probably haven't heard of them. So Stephen Hole Architects, and like I said, I don't know the names of these buildings, and so I'm looking at this first building, which was kind of a light silver metal screen building. It looks like a solid mass. Some of it actually is solid, but most of it's kind of perforated. So it's kind of a rain screen with some windows behind it that are punched openings with these really cool carve-outs on the side of the building. And in the carve-outs are channel glass. They spent all the money on the glass.
Are we talking about the Art Building West?
Yes, there were two art buildings. So okay, I'm going to take your word for it. Art Building West. So you're looking it up in real time while I'm looking at my photos.
Absolutely.
So where these carve-outs are is really where you would enter or exit the building, right? So that it was pretty. Just reading the building, it was very clear. Like okay, and I'm trying to imagine what this building. I bet this building is beautiful at night, especially because like what appears to be kind of solid mass on the outside at night would be completely different because it's a rain screen that's several inches in front of a more traditional envelope that has punched openings that are more randomly sized and placed. So on one side of the building, it's what has as described. On the opposite side of the building, that rain screen isn't there, and you just see the punched openings in the. So it's kind of cool. You get during the day, you can really read both sides as kind of these different versions of the facade. But I would imagine at night, it's kind of like it just kind of seems to be the entire building, so it kind of changes faces in the middle or in the evening. But when I went into that building, the interior space is just this big volume atrium space that's probably 4 or 5 stories tall. It's large and it's concrete, but man, remember those Louis Kahn buildings we went to? It wasn't like that. It wasn't like that at all. The quality of the craftsmanship was not amazing, and it just felt kind of sterile and cavernous on the inside of the building. And so it really didn't land for me. It felt really weird. It kind of resembles the Guggenheim on the inside with like the circulation kind of almost spirals around the space. But
did this come up?
Yeah, I can see your screen.
So this is the West,
okay.
And then this is what is described as the visual arts. So one is the visual arts and one is the Arts Building West.
Okay.
So this is Arts Building West?
Yeah. Okay.
Visual arts.
So we're talking about the visual arts building then. And
Yes.
on the inside of this building, you can see there, because this is kind of a bird's eye view, it's a giant skylight at the top of this central atrium, which I think in that image, it's like, oh, so clear. It looks so cool. It just didn't feel good inside the building. Like I said, it's super hard surfaces. Everything is super. So it's really echoey in there. Obviously, there's a lot of concrete. There's probably a lot of chipboard, although all I'm seeing is painted white concrete, and then channel glass and glass on the hard surface on the lid, and it's just like, it just didn't work. So it's like we actually kind of got out of it fairly quickly to go visit the other Stephen Holt project, which is this building that is entirely clad in Corten steel for the most part, and channel glass, more channel glass. So they're kind of talking to each other in some way, but you can tell this building is quite a bit older. This building feels more like a earlier Amorphosis or Michael Rotundi building or something of that kind of era, a little bit deconstructivist, but clean, like a really beautiful kind of massing and sizing and things like that. So yeah, that's the Art Building West at the University of Iowa. And this building, I thought, was way more successful from just an experiential point of view. Like the site of this building is incredible, first of all. Like, you've got this giant cantilevered volume sitting on a concrete pier out over a pond. It's incredible. And I think that there was quite a bit of consideration that went into the site of this building so that they could do this.
This fella here.
That fella right there. Yeah. So really, really beautiful. I thought this building resonated with me.
To be quite honest with you,
resonated with me some more.
Yeah, I was going to say, to be quite honest with you, this sort of feels like some of like the least Stephen Holish.
I thought so too. Totally.
Building that I mean.
And so I think it's from the mid 90s. If I had to guess, I would say it's from the mid 90s.
Look at that. I would say, I mean,
yeah.
Does that not look
that's
like
a Morphosis diagram
famous
right there.
Exactly.
Yeah. And what we're looking at, for those who are listening, is it's a site plan view of a physical model, and it just
a little bit of copper, both patinaed and not patinaed, brown amongst green, and it's such a very. I have a Morphosis. I still have trouble saying Morphosis instead of Morphosis, but anyway, Morphosis. I have a monograph that has the cookhouse on the front.
There you go.
And the quintessential famous model of the cookhouse is just chef's kiss amazing. And this sort of feels 100% like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you remember, there was a rendering done. It's probably in that book and the guy who did all their digital modeling back in the day. His name was Cameron Crockett, and early Form Z super user. Okay. And I remember seeing an image that he rendered of a Morphosis project where he had applied the texture map of Venus to the whole project. Total Morphosis thing to do. And it was super cool. like that just impacted me as a student in college in the days. But yeah, that's what this building looks like, because it's all Corten and it's all thick panels of raw Corten steel. And it is really beautiful, especially when the greenish channel glass meets that material. When they come together, it's very cool. And what's, I think, super interesting about one of the facades of this building is where it is mostly channel glass, they have operable windows inserted into the channel glass so that they can control their environment a little bit, or open the building up to the environment in a facade assembly that wouldn't typically be operable at all. So they have these kind of punched openings with awning windows in them. It's pretty interesting. So walked into that building, I felt like the interior lobby and atrium was way more successful. Super amazing stair in that building, which I'll put a picture for in the show notes. And it's this heavy plate steel. It's super cool. It's just this really beautiful assembly of parts of the stair. It's like, you know how I feel about stairs, right?
Yes.
It was that. I could have just studied that stair all day long. It was
so that
it
stair
was very cool. Yeah, and you can kind of see how it's just this really complex assembly of steel plate done in many different ways. It was very cool. And it's like half-inch plate. This is not a light set of stairs.
I've done a stair like that the risers and treads are this folded continuous plate that in my particular stair was just basically set on a center tube steel stringer, just as two back-to-back ones. But in like this case, you're right. It's just a series of like folds. It's kind of very steel origami.
It's really tectonic, and you can see that it's kind of hanging from the ceiling. It's like got the detailing of that. It would have taken a very long time to detail that. I can't imagine reviewing those shop drawings, but it's really cool. Very cool.
Reviewing and rejecting and all the above.
Yeah. Revise and resubmit. Yeah.
Exactly. Multiple times over. What I love is like this continuation of the tension rod hangers of the actual like vertical hung steel
suspension. Yeah.
That is replicated in the actual cables of the balustrade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really cool.
So, really interesting.
And in this building, I think more successfully, there's a warmth to it. There was a lot of
there very much is
blonde wood paneling, more, I would say, because of its age, probably at the time more incandescent kind of coloration to the lighting. So it was really cool.
99 through 2006, really.
Okay. There you go. Late 90s. So, I mean, it'd probably been on the boards for a while. Okay, so the next one we went to, I believe this next project is called the Hauncher Auditorium, according to my metadata on my photo, which is a Caesar Pelli project. Is it Pelli, Clark Pelli? I don't know. There's a lot of Pellis at the Pelli Palace. Yeah. Another building with channel glass. Third building in a row with channel glass. Channel glass never made it onto any of my projects. How about you?
No, I'm still
trying.
Looking for that opportunity.
So this building will, again, include images, but it looks like a cruise ship, like literally a giant, giant cruise ship. And it's an auditorium building. Very beautiful curtain wall details. Like this was the kind of thing where I didn't even get to go inside the main auditorium space, but the way that they kind of transition materials from inside to outside and the curtain walls just basically disappearing. So like the ceilings on the outside are this natural wood slat, not metal that looks like wood, but actual wood. And that, which looks like Doug fir to me, or possibly cedar, but it just goes right through the curtain wall, which it obviously doesn't. The curtain wall does interrupt it, but there's no top or bottom mullions for the curtain walls. And so the wood just shoots right through, and beautiful. Wow. And what I really liked, it was a super subtle thing, and Hugh pointed this out, which was what looked like can lights that are basically downlighting all the surfaces that you walk on in this wood ceiling. They are kind of like a can light with a lens, but it has this drop down scrim of translucent glass, so that about 3 inches below the wood surface, you get this really beautiful glow of light. So it's not tucked up in the wood ceiling, and it's not flat with the wood ceiling. It kind of just projects down as like an extrusion around the edge of the light, and it was very beautiful. I thought it was a really nice choice.
You could sort of see that in this.
Yeah, and you'll see it in my photo as well. Yeah. It's a couple pictures of that, but I thought it was a really nice choice, because by pushing them down below the ceiling, and then that same ceiling material going into the building from outside, the grid of lights reads really well.
Oh, nice.
And I thought that was a nice touch. And choosing not to use linear fixtures in a very linear directional ceiling, I think, was also a good choice. It was really cool.
Did you have an opportunity to go into the
I did not. I'm
auditorium?
looking at this image. It looks incredible.
I'm looking at this image and I'm like, wow.
Wow. Yeah.
This is
what
fantastic. And then some.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So the cruise ship, let's get back to that
Okay, so looking
hero
at this picture
shots.
here, look at the landscape in the foreground of this.
Yeah.
And it literally is like a cruise ship that this is the bow of the ship and it is
And it's just
sending
pushing
out
through the water.
waves. It is sending out a wake from and there are literally are like sculptures of giant concrete fish that are jumping in it. And they're playing it up for sure.
So they just leaned right on it.
They leaned into it. Yeah. For sure.
Awesome.
Somebody was like, that looks like a cruise ship. And they're like, oh, yeah?
Like, okay. Like, yeah.
I'm going to double
watch
down.
This. That's awesome.
What's interesting about this, okay, so yeah, Pelly, Clark, and Partners. So it wasn't no longer Pelly, Clark, Pelly.
Well,
I mean,
remember, it was Pelly. It was Pelly, then, Pelly Clark.
Right.
And I think we've lost to Pelly. So,
okay.
The Pelly.
There you go. So there are new partners in the firm, and they don't get names on the plaque. But that metal that wraps the vertical facades of the building in that horizontal texture, it's hard to keep buildings clean. And you just notice it. Like these photos when these were taken, I mean, I'm sure it was perfect. And it's just not perfect anymore. And the Stephen Hole building that we just talked about, the Art Center West one, there's parts where the Corten steel has leached back into the horizontal stucco in interesting ways. So something to note about this location of Iowa is they've had severe flooding. And so like 20 feet of water, standing water in these buildings, like what do you do? And I think, how do you prepare your building to be flooded in a 500-year flood? It has happened. And I don't know if it's happened since this building was built. I think it was 2008. It's like, it's still difficult to keep buildings clean. And it's unfortunate because you look up and there's cobwebs and there's dirt and there's stains and there's running water and all these things. And it's like, it's a moist environment, right? It's humid there.
Also, it's on the bend of the Iowa River.
Right.
So here it is right here. And so you sort of see this.
Yeah.
I could definitely see. It's probably as well sited as the Farnsworth House.
Right. So this last one is a building that is downtown. So the campus also has buildings downtown. And this is by a firm on the West Coast, which is LMN Architects out of Seattle. Have you heard of LMN?
Yeah. I believe we have.
I'm sure we have.
So they were the firm of the year.
That's right. They were the firm of the year.
Yeah.
You are correct. Okay. Can you tell what you're looking at there? So this is kind of an atrium space. It's three or four stories. There's some stairs coming up on the right-hand side, but there's these weird tracks in this metal panel system that is the guardrail between kind of the circulation and the open atrium space.
Are these fire curtains?
If I gave you one chance to answer that question, you would have answered it correctly because you are such a building nerd.
Holy it is.
Have you ever seen horizontal
long? Oh my Lord! People, we need to find this.
We need to talk to somebody about it. Because we talked so much about this in the British Arts Museum episode.
Yeah.
Right? Where Cormac could not stop looking at the fire curtain like details in that building.
And they kept yelling at me for like leaning into it. And they're like, if the fire alarm goes off, you're going to get chopped in half.
You're going to lose an arm. You're going to lose a neck. Like,
oh man. I specifically looked for fire curtain in that particular building, and for some reason
nobody cares, Cormac. That's why nobody cares.
They should, because this is something special.
This is wild. Okay, so what? So I just wanted to have some fun with Cormac. Sorry, listeners, but this was an interesting detail where I was like, "What are those reveals?" And Hugh was like, "Are those for fire curtains?" And then if you look over to the right, you can see that, yep, there's a horizontally mounted fire curtain behind a scrim, and all right, folks. There you go. Look at you. That's the image.
Oops.
That's it. That's as big as it gets.
That's almost the image. And
Yep.
sure enough, this right here is
That's
the
where it
track.
lands. It lands on the left, so
it
comes out from the right, and
it rolls across and it lands in here.
Yep, and you get a seal.
And it does it here too.
Yes.
Here's the
so
track.
there's two separate
this way
ones. Yeah.
That is an incredibly unusual way to deal with isolation of the atrium space.
Fire separation, right? Because by volume,
Wow.
I assume. Like what's driving that? Is it air volume of the space?
There's a variety of different factors, obviously, for the whole atrium thing, and then being able to. I mean, this is a pretty spectacular building, actually.
I didn't love like the surfaces of it. I'm sorry to say.
Oh no.
Okay. So if you go like find a picture of just the interior lobby, and that's good enough right there. That's good enough. Okay. So what does that look like to you? What do those panels look like to you? I'll tell you what they look like to me, but I want to hear what you said. What you think.
I mean, they're. I mean, I'm being pretty generic and saying they're just a series of perforated acoustical panels.
Yeah, they're perforated metal panels. From my understanding, this building was a huge exploration into computational design. So all of the panelizing, the perforations.
Insert eye roll.
But for me, if you just step in and you look at this as okay, somebody who knows because I've done it, but I would think it's just like a standard bystander. This looks like unfinished gypboard to me. Like this is where you've painted the seams because you've taped them.
The funny thing is it does very much look like a taped.
It is taped
drywall.
Taped gray, the grayish. Yeah, that's what it looked like to me, and that's why I was like, I
mean, you definitely look at that, and that's definitely this is performance over aesthetics, in my opinion. It is interesting, but this is 100% like. It would be interesting because you had spoke about the acoustics and everything else in the one Stephen Hall building, the visual arts building.
The terrible acoustics,
and,
yes.
And the terrible acoustics and the hard surfaces.
This one was not that bad.
And you see all of the hard surfaces here, or what you would assume to be hard surfaces.
They are.
With the metal panel and everything else, and the hard travertine floor, or no, that might be polished concrete, but. Yeah, I'm looking at a crack right here.
Concrete cracks.
Yes. I zoomed in on a crack.
There it is. That actually looks like a structural crack, not like a random crack. It looks.
You wanna say that again? Look at.
I mean, it's at a diagonal. Oh, you can see it hits the perfect corner of the stair where the stair is. Yep. So yeah, concrete crack.
Yeah, I was going to say, come on now. But I would say that this is an exercise in controlling acoustics.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Which, I mean, if this is
this performance building, that's what this building is about.
It has to.
Yeah. So look at the interior.
It's in the name.
Yeah. Okay. So that space right there that you kind of have a glimpse of, I got to go in that space. It is gorgeous. Ooh. It is this. You are the. This is very OMA right here. Like this is like you've carved out this thing, and what's left is this. This red space. This is kind of a secondary.
And this is the meat.
This is the meat of taken out of the chunk of building that got taken away for sure. And that curtain wall. I mean, it's just kind of this beautiful contrast between the two. So beautiful daylight, which is atypical for a performance space, but I can imagine. For what it's used for, like that's part of the programming, right? Like pretty cool actually. And they do have shades and stuff to control the lighting there, but I thought that was really neat.
This looks operable.
Yes.
Is it?
Yeah, it looks like it is to me too. It looks like it's kind of like
it's interesting
telescoping barn door to open up to the outside.
Ah, that's so cool.
I didn't get to go into the main space, which is how I knew of this building, the main performance space. And this ceiling is why I know this project, because this is a very early computational design where LMN, I believe, actually even did the fabrication for this ceiling.
Oh, wow.
So Not they like took it into their own destiny, right? They put the risk into developing this based on acoustic modeling and create the kind of acoustic atmosphere that they needed for a performance space like this. And little did I know that that extended out to the rest of the building. But I think what's really actually very successful about this building is how it puts circulation on display as if it were a performance. So, yeah, that's pretty cool, right?
I love the fact that you can actually see and connect with the interior spaces and the interior uses from the exterior.
Yep. It actually puts it on display. I think so what's interesting and what you've just expanded upon kind of my reaction, which was not only is it doing it in the building, it's also doing it outside the building for the people on the street. So it becomes this lens through which you can look through to see various types of performance. And in the main lobby, there are theatrical lights kind of mounted to those panels. And I don't know if they do this, but it feels like they could turn the lobby into a performance space, or at least maybe they turn the lights on at a particular before showtime, so you feel like you're about to enter a performance. So there's some things I really like about this building. There's other things that I didn't like as much, but there you have it.
Well,
I got to experience some architecture in Iowa. It was incredible.
Yes.
It was really wonderful to
it looks like you got to experience some of the best of it.
Right.
At least at the University of Iowa.
And I was curious because on the outside of this, the first thing that we saw were these really cool terracotta panels on the outside of the building. And some of those terracotta panels with the same module, instead of being flat and they're kind of vertical, like skinny, tall, vertical panels, they actually twist and become an opening so that they reveal like a pushed back facade in some areas. And I'll put a picture of that in the show notes. But it was you can see it there. It's over that main entry up on the upper part. It looks kind of gray, but the terracotta panels at the very bottom row of those twist as they go up 90 degrees.
I see it.
Yeah, it's very cool. So they've taken the same module, but they've just twisted them 90 degrees to reveal
that's nice
openings behind
that
it.
That kind of reminds me of the Renzo Art Museum at, was it Harvard? Yeah, it was Harvard. That was right next to the Corp building, Corbusier building.
Yes. Oh, and that facade was precise.
That was a chef's kiss.
That's what I would say. That's the word I would use. It was precise.
That was precise. And I feel this kind of is
that was terracotta too, right?
Kind of like that. It looks like it. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to say no, it was.
Oh, you're talking about the Renzo.
The Renzo. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well.
Anyway,
so how did you like OPN?
Okay, yeah. So I wanted to give a shout out to OPN for sure. OPN is a cool firm. I didn't know of them before I started, but as soon as I looked at their website, I'm like, oh, I know who OPN is. It was very similar to the firm that I worked in for many years, and I thought it was really refreshing that they are so proactive about talking about their future and where they're going and how they're going to get there. It was a wonderful day where I did a keynote. Another keynote was given by Dwayne Euler of Euler and Wu. Dwayne also and Jenny Wu, they teach at SciArc. They have a practice together called Euler Wu Collaborative. They do incredible work. And so it was really great to see that, but also to get to meet Dwayne and vicariously Jenny through the work that they've done. But really interesting work. So they had kind of a future-focused, my keynote was on some of the trends that we're seeing, some things to be thinking about as they move forward. And then they had more of a practitioner side that's just doing work that is really incredible. And so Dwayne fulfilled that part. And then we were together on a panel discussion, and there was just kind of a series of questions that the firm had kind of come up with ahead of time, but then they opened it up to the audience of employees, and some incredible people got to ask some incredible questions, and you have to think on your feet and come up with answers in real time and think about things like that. Really cool. I think that's a cool space.
You're good at that.
Thank you. And then after that, they did some Pechakucha style presentations of projects that are going on. They have multiple offices, so it's like, well, here's what's going on and different things they've done in the last year, because this is an annual retreat. And beyond that, they had a couple of 30-plus year anniversaries. They did like firm anniversaries, and then they did a couple were
Nice.
retiring, and they got to shed some tears. And, you know, it was really emotional for some of it, which I thought was fantastic because it shows that they're really an incredible team with some great bonds. And then, okay, so the venue for this, I mentioned the Caesar Pelle's Palace earlier. This was at the Pickle Palace. Any idea what happens in the Pickle Palace in Cedar Rapids, Iowa?
They maybe make pickles or
pickleball. You failed this test, Cormac. You failed this one. You won.
It's a pickleball.
You won the smoke screen one. You lost this one. Yeah, it is a pickleball palace. It was actually a really interesting idea. They have, I think, 4 pickleball courts indoor, 2 outdoor. It's in kind of what you would consider maybe an area that's going through some gentrification in Iowa City that is being rebuilt from scratch since that giant flood took out a lot of this area. There's a picture of the Pickle Palace that I wouldn't have been able to get from a drone. Very cool. So there's other programming here too. There's conference space, which we were using. There is a mezzanine with a bar. There's a restaurant and a bar downstairs. And there's like a really cool kind of upper deck outdoor game area where I got to play some ping pong with some of the OPN employees, which was super cool. And they were serving food and stuff up there. Really cool, really actually a great venue, and it was just really
how many days
a fun time.
Was this?
I was just there for that one day. The next day, they did a bunch of architectural tours. So they got on a bus as a staff and went out and visited some architecture. So if anybody wants to know how to run a staff retreat, I say crib some notes from OPN Architects in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And they're also in various locations in the Midwest.
Just looking at them, they've got a handful of offices in Des Moines, Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, Madison, Wisconsin, and Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Yeah, great group. Great culture. I think that's one of the things that I took away from it, which reminded me of the firm that I used to be a part of as well. Just a fantastic culture, fantastic people. And so if you're looking for a firm to work at and you live in the Midwest, you might check them out.
You were feeling their resonance.
I was resonating with them. I was aligned. Yes, it was great.
Sweet.
Yeah, it was sweet.
You had to pull it back.
I have to say, it felt good to get back to Oregon still. So the next day when I got back, I got to ride my bike around Crater Lake. So that was super cool.
That's right. You did. You went on that whole little
adventure.
You got back and
yeah, it was a nonstop there for a few days, but absolutely worth it. So yeah, very cool to share that experience. I'm glad we got to do that here. I'm going to send a link to this episode to them so they can hear it. But shout out to OPN. Thanks for the invitation, and I'm really pleased with what came out of it.
And definite shout out to Hugh.
Hugh Soward.
Is that it?
Hugh was the man for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, OPN senior leadership. If Hugh's not at the top, he needs to be there.
That's right. I think he's well on his way. Yeah, he's doing a great job.
There you go.
Cool.
All
right.
Well, cool. Well, thanks for sharing, man.
Yeah, thanks for invoking that share. I was pleased to do it.
All right. Talk to you later.
Yep.